Or am I going to do that? Okay, you got it. All right. We're recording. Great. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another coaching session. So today I build this one as questions and answers. So I'm hoping that you've come prepared with some good questions to answer. And I've got something I want to start us off with. This, I think a lot about what I could say or teach or inspire you guys to do and what's, top of mind right now. And I want to pose something. We're all getting asked about the market. The market is historic numbers, right? So I think it would be a real missed opportunity if we kind of responded like, oh, it's crazy. Oh, it's nuts. Oh, it's fantastic, or just give kind of like an adjective to describe it and then move on. I think that's a missed opportunity. Will you write this down? I'm gonna have a couple of questions I think that you need to have an answer to when it comes to the current market conditions. I would, and the purpose of this is to have you really show your professionalism, that you've thought through, the critical elements of a market. And here's what they are. First of all, we could take this generically, or we could take, like Utah, we could say state of Utah, we could say a county, we could say a city, we could say a zip code, we could say a subdivision. I get that. And I think that you should be prepared to answer some of those questions related to different, geographical markets. Let me remind everybody to refer you to something, make a note of this. We have a coaching session recorded on what market is. Okay, the definition of a market is not an area. It could be, but it's not just an area. It can be like, horse property market. It could be condo market, right? It could be new construction market. So there's a lot of different markets, and I think you should remember that. And the way you look at data can be pivoted to each one of these markets. Okay, the two-story market, the rambler market, the view lot market, the secluded lot market, the over 1 million market, over 2 million market. We could go on and on, right? Ski in, ski out properties. Resort. There's an endless amount of markets. Okay, so think about that. But here are the categories I think we should be able to answer. First of all, the number of active listings in those markets. Because right now, this is newsworthy, isn't it? We're seeing the lowest amount of inventory that we've ever seen in the history of tracking real estate, right? It's crazy the low amount of inventory. The next one is absorption rate. So write that one down. Number 3 is appreciation trends. This is good news for our sellers. We're seeing appreciation. Look, I think that in some markets, we're seeing 5% of the value per month in some of our markets. That's insane, right? And the pace will not stay that way. We know that, but that's some of the trends right now. Certainly, we need to know current interest rates. Let me give you a couple more. The average list or sale price, I think, is important. Days on market. And the last one, I want you to be able to have an elevator delivery of what challenges are. So here, let me share my screen and let's take a look at something that I think is just crazy. Share screen, host disabled sharing. Joseph, my friend, did you step away and can't share my screen?
I gotcha.
Okay, thanks, bud. Let me know when we're ready and I'll show this. Guys, I just pulled up a couple of different. Okay, we're ready? Okay, good. Here we go. Share screen. The first one I've taken from the Utah Association of Realtors. And this was quarter 3. And it's got a comparison already built in to 2019, quarter 3 versus 2020. I'll just pull out some of our best, counties that we're strong in. Like Davis County, up 11.6%. These are closed sales. Median price, look at what this can answer to. If I said Davis County, come across, we're up 12.1. Let's hit, I mean, you can find the counties that you work a lot in. Here's Moab. We got Salt Lake County is up 12.5%. The median price is up. Now that's quarter over quarter is 10%. Look at some of these counties that are 30%, 35%. So Summit County, the unit numbers are off the charts. Are you guys seeing this? Summit County, 58% in closed sales quarter over quarter. And then the median price has jumped 35%. That's awesome, isn't it? In some respects, isn't it? So will you make another note here? Write down context over content. I'll say it again, context over content. I've said this before. This is one of our hexagon lessons, but it's really important for you to put the wisdom behind the numbers. So we've got to say, why does this matter? Okay, essentially, why does it matter? So, and it's in 2 points of view. Why does it matter to a buyer? Why does it matter to a seller? So what does this number say in Summit County to a buyer? The trend right now is you're paying more. Remember when we said we probably should have purchased something in quarter two, but we didn't? So now it's more expensive, isn't it? What does it say to a seller? Right? Unprecedented equity increases that we're seeing. Okay. All right. Let me show you another one. Remember, think of this is, this is one of my favorite kind of generic reports. This is on the UtahRealEstate.com. So, you know, this is our MLS, Wasatch Front MLS or WFR MLS. Statistics. I like the sales by month report. I can modify it. All I did, guys, here was put, you can see my criteria. All it is single family condo, twin, and townhouse. Okay. So this is 2015. We've had really good markets for quite a while. I just thought, look at this column right here for just a second. Focus on this. We're going to go 2015. This is sales price over list. Okay, so a good number, right? We listed it and then we sold it. So there's the list price. You know, there's the sold. There's the percentage, 97% in the December. If we came to the peak of the markets, like the seasonal, here's 2016, May, June, July, we're 100%. But check this out. Let's go all the way down to current, and what I've never seen before in my career ever, 101%. I've never seen that. So this is just state of Utah. Okay, we can come back in here and we can modify this, and we could change this to a county. Okay, so we can go county and we could run this as it, you know, this is month over month instead of quarter over quarter. You know what? Do we have, I'm going to play some favorites. I know we often talk about, I'm going to do Washington County, and then I'm going to view the results instead of picking Salt Lake County or Summit County or something like that. Let's see, view results. Okay, it didn't stick. Hang on, guys. I knew internet might be a little, it's not letting me click, turkey. Okay. Okay. Well, this is fun. Okay, maybe it is it give it to me now? Let's see. No, it's going back. Yeah, that's the whole, okay, modify. Sorry, guys, hold please. Your call is very important to us. We appreciate you waiting. We'll try this again. If Washington County's jinxed, then we'll try something else. Okay, there's Washington. Now let's view results. Okay. So let's track this one category again, list over, sold over list. And there it is. the first 101 that I've ever seen is again appearing, but not quite as strong as we saw in all the states. So, you know, interesting. Look at the price per square foot climbing, and the average price is climbing. Just crazy what we're seeing. So go back to my list of things I think that here it is. Those are the questions market answers, questions we should know the answers to. Number of active listings in our areas that we practice, the absorption rate, which is the rate of sale versus the inventory amount. So if we close 2,000 a month and we only have 2,000 listings, then our absorption rate is we're closing every house in 1 month. There are some markets where we don't have enough in a month listed that we get pended, and we're eating up every last listing that's on the market. The appreciation trends, that's important for our sellers to know and for our buyers if they're going to continue to pay more. Current rates, list price, days on market, and challenges. You know what? Look, something to think about here. If you're not careful, I don't want you sending a message that it's really easy to sell a house right now. The challenge is just different. Okay. Think about what we're going, yesterday I took a call from an agent at 8 offers on a weekend. That's 8, different offers to look through. And then I think I told you on sales meeting, 6 of those 8 offers were very, very competitive. The trick today is to balance appraisal challenges, the comps, the multiple offers, almost like a bidding process, and to vet every buyer's offer. And that is a lot, talk about moving our cheese a little bit and changing up the course. It's a lot more challenging today in that area than it's ever been. Okay. All right. I hope that got us warmed up a little bit. Was that helpful? Okay, good. Thanks, guys. Make sure you know the answers to those, because you're going to get asked. You get asked in our social circles, Facebook, or when you're seeing some. I guess we're only seeing people face to face. What, at the grocery store or Costco? So, how's the market? Or in Kelly's case, I saw Kelly yesterday at Shields. Yes, so. He didn't ask me how the market was, though. So, okay. Zoom crowds are a tough crowd. I'm just telling you. Thanks for smiling. But, Hannah and Hillary, in my mind, you're just laughing so hard. Nicole, with those behind those masks, Jennifer, you're just, in my mind, I've got you just hysterically laughing. Okay, guys, now the time is yours for questions. So why don't you hit me? I had a question come in yesterday about, let me grab my forms manual. Oh, by the way, I've got since you guys are on, this is the last coaching session of the year. Can I tell you something that's kind of cool? What I'm working on. I told everyone at sales meeting I got cookies in the oven. Did you catch that? So we got cookies in the oven. This has been like a lifelong dream, really. But so this represents what we would refer to. Some of you have like the business builder binder. Looks like this, right? Okay, it's got all the coaching stuff in it. We've taken everything and organized it into 11 chapters. And all of this content is now going to be organized by working with sellers, working with buyers, communication skills, overcoming objections, scripts, things like that, legal section. And it's all going to be professionally printed and spiral bound. So moving forward after January 13th, where we roll this out, all the coaching sessions on Wednesday, we're just going to go through all these. Anyone want to guess how many pages? Let's just put it this way. I'm spending all of my budget on this one item for the entire year. So No, it ends up being 230 pages. So 115 pieces of paper, color printed both sides. Yeah. But I'm excited about that. That will be a better way, I think, to do Zoom and coaching next year, where we're just kind of marching through those pages. It's going to be a great resource for you. But okay, on the question that I already had was on a listing presentation and forms. Remember, there's a pivot question in a presentation. When you get a question, instead of just answering it, the better way is to say something like this. I'd say, John, that's a great question. You know what I think might be best is if we take a look at the section of the purchase agreement that addresses that. Right? I'll say that again. John, that's a great question. I think what might be best if we take a look at the section of the purchase agreement that addresses that. So that's the transition into the visual, to use our forms as a way to show our proficiency and to show the complexity, which helps us to build value and to remove objections to commission rates, right? Okay, so we say, what I want you to do is, so ideally you would be able to present to this. Now, if you're face to face with your masks, you're turning this around, you grab your pointer and you point to the section of the rep C upside down, and you start to show the key words as you put the paragraph in layman's terms. Okay. So if John's question was something like, when my brother sold his house, he ended up having to fix a lot of things, and man, I don't want that to happen to me. So Will, do I have to fix a lot of things to get my house ready for sale? Now stop for a second. See, I think an okay way is just to answer it. And sometimes you will. But in order to show the complexities and show your proficiency in it, try the transition. That's a great question. I think we might want to do is start off with a section of the agreement that addresses that. Let me take your attention to 10.2 and 10.3 of our contract that will be, this will be the agreement that our buyer will write an offer on. So let me show you how it depicts the concept of warranties or as is and what's required by you. You see how that's a little better? So you're showing the complexity of it. Now, there's a lot of forms that we could be using in a listing presentation that we could teach from, not just the rep C, but we've got things like subject to buyer sale, which we may see. We may see want to talk about resolution to due diligence. We may want to talk about option to keep house on market. We definitely want to talk about multiple offer disclosure and how our strategy may be there, and even to get some pre-approvals from the seller on how they want to deal with multiple offers, right? So use the forms to teach from. The transition sentence again is, that's a great question. I think what might be best is if we take a look at, and then fill in the blank, right? Section of the contract, a page of, the addendum of, whatever it is that we refer to, and then go there. There's a lot of different ways to say that. I would remind you to not use lingo. Don't say things like rep C. Don't say supplementary clauses. Speak in their language. That's why I use the agreement and not the rep C, right? Don't say addenda. Don't say addendum, right? So what would you say? It's a document that we attach to the contract. So, no. Look, if I'm speaking to someone who's an attorney, that's a lot more fun, because then, all the filters just go away, and that could be a lot of fun. Okay, so I hope that was my answer to the first question that was emailed to me yesterday. Anybody want to unmute and give me another question that you want me to tackle today, this morning? Or us to tackle, not just me. I don't have all the answers.
My whole world has been shattered. We'll have all the answers all the time.
Okay, come on, guys.
Yeah, hit chatter or whatever. We'll get you unmuted.
Come on, nobody? What's everyone embarrassed? Oh, Tara. Tara, go ahead. Unmute, Tara.
I was late to the party today. I apologize. I saw that you were going over some of the statistical information that is on the MLS. And I actually had to send some of that stuff over to a buyer yesterday. Like some of the graph, they have a concern that a home is overpriced in Harriman.
Okay.
And so I did the market sales. Did you touch over that part of the MLS today?
Well, you know, Tara, I think from a habitual standpoint, I'd like all of us to spend every morning studying the market for a 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something. I mean, and for different days, it's different amounts. But we should memorize market data and practice our elevator pitch. I think when you memorize it, it's easier to put in an elevator pitch. You know, like things like the entire Washington County MLS has 600 listings, and there's 200,000 people that live there. Right?
Yeah.
So, but understanding and mastering the market is a daily discipline. Remember, there's a lot of markets. We talk a lot about area markets, but there's also price point markets, you know, and there's new construction markets.
Yeah.
And there's different kinds of product. You know, there's land and lots that are their own market. There's a condo. There's twin home markets. There's price point markets. So remember that. But when you're trying to light the path for someone on whether or not they should sell, also remember this. This is a big one, guys. I've said this before, but and here I am in like stats and practice and all this, but we've got to have heart in everything we do. We got to have compassion. And frankly, the market is not the thing that causes someone to buy or sell. It never has been. It shouldn't be. I mean, never is a big word, but it shouldn't be. That should not be the reason why I move my family or buy a property. If this is just investment, okay, fine. But that's usually not what we're dealing with. So we've got to have a heartfelt perspective to everybody. And when early in the pandemic in April, I caught myself going back to what I was thinking of in 2008, 9, and 10, right? Matter of fact, raise of hands. How many were practicing real estate in 08, 9, and 10? Okay, we all deserve a medal. Well, actually, we have one, right? Because that was really challenging. But I found the same fundamentals coming to the forefront. What is right for you and your family? I mean, that should be the driver. So when you start marching down, well, I think it may be right for our family, the market only shows the challenges in front of us. Okay, it's not the reason. The reason is much bigger than what's in front of us and the challenges. And then who you choose as an agent and a company and a brokerage. When you choose Berkshire Hathaway, you get a better professional. That better professional is better at those challenges. And remember, we go back to our core benefits there, right? Net the highest price. That's why we exist. Help our clients net the best bottom line. And that's why we do what we do. So, you know, the market is a piece and it's not the whole thing. I hope that helps, Tara. Okay, anybody else? Okay, Michael Hurd. Go ahead, unmute, Michael.
Well, this is kind of granular, but all of those reports, they automatically default to median instead of average. And just to give you an example, the difference between median price on homes sold in in November in Salt Lake County, the median was 340-ish, the average was 451. What do people want to talk about? I mean, most people understand averages. I'm not sure everybody understands median.
I would always simplify it. I think there comes a point where we might be showing. That's why I don't like lingo. Okay, so I think that's showing off. It's not speaking to someone's language. I mean, look, let's back up. Remember our personality discussions that we've had in the past where you want to be able to speak, deliver, and communicate the way someone else wants to, not the way you want to. And that's really important. So I think I would simplify it, so, and whether you're using median or average, I think you could speak to it if somebody wants to, but I'd be very careful not to complicate the message. That's not going to get what we want, and yet I want to also be truthful about the complexity because we often are our own worst enemy, right? Because we make it look so easy. I mean, it's just a gallbladder surgery. I mean, happens all the time. People buy and sell houses all the time. It can't be that hard. I mean, come on, the market's really easy right now. Right? So if we're not careful, we'll paint the improper picture. But I think my tone, my heartfelt lead is to watch how they respond if I'm using words or concepts that might be too confusing, then just explain it. And we got to be careful that the egos that people have, they often want to portray they do know. And I'll often say things like, well, you already know this, you probably, I throw that in, you probably already know this, or, I'm telling you what you already know. But somewhere in there, I'm saying, well, I'm going to throw it out anyway, because my objective is not to have them look like they don't know. My objective is to build a relationship and communicate something. So, Ron makes a good point that the median versus average is the direction that's most important. So, okay, good question. Anybody else? Hit me with another one. Okay, Kelly Cook. Go ahead and unmute yourself there, Kelly.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, now I've been trying to sharpen the saw. I filed my teeth down to little spikes. I'm going up against a broker who she's a broker and lots of experience. I have a little, I've tried to show my competence. She's charging 1% for listing. Of course, we're charging 3%. How I was caught a little flat-footed with that one, and he says, "Look, So, any ideas?"
Yeah. This is an objection, right? The other party is charging less, and they're more experienced, or at least the perception more experienced. Write this down, everybody. This is an overcoming objection pattern. We listen carefully, we understand it, and then we ask questions. So what questions might we ask? How about things like, so is it important to you to net the most? So, and if I don't know anything about this is the problem with role plays, okay? Because it's isolated. And that's why I don't like role plays. We should be very, very good at asking questions so we get a very good discovery, because you can't give a good diagnosis without discovery. So don't shoot solutions like out of randomly shoot solutions out until you understand what the problems are. Okay. So if you find yourself somehow, without any kind of background as to what the client wants, and you're hit with an objection like, well, I think we may go with someone who's her name is, and she's a broker, and she's going to charge us less. And you don't know, you're going to have to start from ground zero, right? You got to go back to square one, and you got to start asking questions as to what's most important. So when do we need to sell? What's our price point? What do you think we're going to be up against? Are there any concerns you have? How soon could you have it on the market? What's in the way to have it market ready? Okay. Are you purchasing another home? Do we need to time that with purchase, with sale? So, a lot of times what happens to the journey of questions is that naturally they start to come to an understanding that, oh, wait, you know what? This is a lot more challenging than I guess just the knee-jerk reaction is, well, we'll just go with whatever's cheaper. Cheaper doesn't always solve the problem. So I think that's something that we got to remember. So my first tip would always be to make sure you ask good questions, get good discovery before you give diagnosis or solution. Okay. The other one is when you're going up against someone who's more experienced, talk about the statistics of our office and the size of our office, the experience of our office, the experience of the team, and the resources that you have. Lean on that. Then lean on your ability to focus on them as a client, and your passionate, focus on them. So that can be a difference maker, because the other side of that coin is they're too busy. They're experienced, but they're too busy, right? They're experienced, but they're too busy. Will they really make me a priority? So you campaign on that, right? You campaign on the fact that I've got I want to focus on you as a client. Right now, you'd be my only listing, giving me a lot of time to focus on what needs to happen. Hypothetically, what is in the way between photography? We need that done. We've got to time how we hit the MLS. There's rules there. Okay. So we got to be careful. If I list it now and it's not ready, there's a process there that we got to be careful about how we use the MLS. We're talking about the clear cooperation rules, right? I've got 5 days to have that on the market once it's listed. If it takes longer than 5 days to get the house ready, we still want to list the property. We're okay to do that, but we need time to get the home ready. So we've got to have that exclusion from the MLS form signed. See, these are details that they often don't think about, but it's really critical to how we hit the market. We've got to be able to show that property in a reasonable time if it's going to be active on the MLS. Okay. So if we're not able to show that house soon, and what's the days? How many days do we have to have that house available for showing if it goes active on the MLS? There it is. Yep. 5 days, 7 days, 7 days, John. So what's the answer? It's 7 days. You've got to have it available within 7 days. So when someone says, well, it's going to take us a couple of weeks to get this house ready, then we've got to start addressing some of those things. And remember, here's the other thing too, Kelly and everyone, speak benefit. Speak seller, let's speak seller language. And how you speak seller, you speak benefit. And the top one is net the most. The next one is to have it sold within their time frame. If you don't know when their time frame goal is, you got to go back and ask questions, right? So, and the next one is least amount of legal risk. And another one that's very akin to that is the highest possible price. So, we speak like, well, we do this so we can net the most. See, the reason we time this right is so that we can get you the highest price. And that's what this is about. That's why we're hired. The reason we're careful about our procedure and our process is to reduce the amount of legal risk in the transaction. So you speak benefit, right? Because that's why we have a job. If we have any value at all, it's because we're able to give the seller what they need. And if we can't do that, then we lose our value. If we lose our value, our rates go down, or we lose the business altogether, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Cindy's weighing in there. Highest price, least amount of time, reducing legal risk, highest net. That's the language that we speak. Okay. Okay, does that
Excellent.
help?
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, who's this is fun. We should do this more often. All right, hit another one. What else you got? Was there someone else that raised their hand earlier?
Yeah, Janet, you got the mic.
I did.
Okay, Janet, go ahead.
How do you find what to list a house for if it's in a small town and you can only find 3 comparables?
Look, pricing property is okay, back up. According to a NAR survey, it's year after year after year. The top question that sellers want answered from agents is, what is the market value of my property?
Mhm.
So no surprise there, right? So they're asking Janet, what's the value? What can I expect? Appraisers are tied to a 6-block radius and like kind. We don't have to do that. We can look at, so we look at comps. Today, we're looking at under contract comps is a really good comparable. And we're also looking at active comps as a really good comparable. Now, we can do that in projecting values where appraisers cannot. You see the difference? So that the appraiser is limited to only sold. So if I went to the MLS, yes, I would love to know the sold history. And I'm not minimizing that in any sort of a way. But appraiser must use that for underwriting guidelines, and you and I don't. Write this down too. An appraisal is not the prediction of what a buyer will pay. Okay? An appraisal is not a prediction of what a buyer will pay, but rather a justification of what they agreed to pay. An appraisal is not a prediction, and this is a real estate appraisal, guys. A real estate appraisal is not a prediction of what a buyer will pay, but rather a justification of what they already agreed to pay. Is there an exception to this? Of course there are. There's an exception to every rule, but 9 out of 10 real estate appraisals are not predictions on what a buyer will pay, but rather a justification of what they already agreed to pay. And why, Janet? Because they can't use under contracts and they can't use actives. So they're limited. So I would first say, are there under contracts? Are there actives that we could look at? If not, then we got to go outside of 6 blocks, and we got to go 12. And if I still can't find anything there, I'm gonna have to start doing like kinds best I can in other communities. And the further we get away from that subject property, the less the comparison approach has value. You know, the comparison approach is only best when the comps are most like the subject, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, when they're most like the subject property, then you got a good comp. I mean, the best comps are in a condo community, right? Unit 316 compared to unit 204, right? But when we get really unique property, it starts to be a problem. Okay, so let's say that Janet never finds really good comparables, and we're going to have to test the market. Okay, so one of my sayings is we don't stop tracking the market when we list the property. Right, we're doing all this market study, and then the listing hits, and then we seem to take our eye off of what happens. Okay, think about it from, say, a product and a retail standpoint. How many eyes were on the product? How many people passed over it? How many people bought another property and not ours? How many views do we have? I'll change it to real estate. How many views do we have? How many physical showings do we have? How many second showings do we have? If I'm getting 0, 0, 0, then the way I'm positioned in my price may be too high. If I can show that my competition is having a different story, right? So we study how our listing is being accepted by the market. And that is really important data, guys. You want to talk about, Kelly, you want to talk about winning that listing? Talk about that. Talk about that. And, you know, I talked to an agent yesterday that's having a hard time selling a property. Can you believe that in this market? The competition sold, right? Well, wow. How's that happening? You know? So, well, there's reasons, and we should know what they are. If you have a listing that's sitting there, look at how many went under contract around it. And that's a good report for our seller, right? I mean, no, it doesn't always happen this way because our first showings in 2020 are always online, right? I mean, I can't, can you imagine someone just never seeing a property online and then just calling up going, you got anything for sale? Right? Not happening today. They're looking at those houses 2, 3, 4 times online. So that's a really good thing to remember, is to study our listings and how the market is responding to them. Because if you have to hit the market, Janet, without good comps, you're going to study how it's being responded to and then pivot if needed.
Yeah, well, the problem is the acreage isn't the same. The water shares aren't the same. And, you know, so I have to go outside towns to figure it out.
Yeah. Remember, in the comparison approach, we put subject property, we take the comp and we make the comp look like the subject.
Yeah.
So if the comp doesn't have as much acreage, then I add value like I'm adding acreage.
Yeah.
Right. And I make it look like it. So make your adjustments. Okay. Good question.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. We probably have time for a couple more. Anyone else got a question we want to chat about? I'm looking in the other screens. Anybody else? No? Everyone got really quiet. I don't want to speak on Zoom, Will. I'm more of a spectator than a participant.
John,
Okay.
you got one.
Hit me, John.
Hey, you got me?
Yeah, I got you. Loud and clear.
Okay, good. Talk to us about how you would give an elevator speech to a buyer entering into the market where people are competing with cash offers and throwing appraisals out the window and things like this. It can happen in Washington County, Salt Lake County, Summit, Davis. It doesn't really matter what county it is and what price point it is. How do you talk to the buyers entering into a market where they're competing with a pocket full of money?
You guys don't take this the wrong way, but I would do what Donald Trump did. See, already I got your attention. If I've got to give an elevator speech, I'd say things like this. I'd say, be very, very careful about this market. It can be very frustrating. I say it again, it's frustrating. It's frustrating. The market's frustrating. It's challenging. You know, the market is so challenging right now. That's elevator. I think I would use that. And then you know what I want to do is I want to get away from the elevator pitch and I want to get to my buyer consultation meeting. I mean, that's what we've got to do. Because see,
but you don't have that when you're just right there.
Yeah.
You don't have that hour to sit down and explain things with them.
Yeah.
And you've got to capture their attention in order to get that. So you've got to have something that you can say, hey.
You know, I'd go something like, John, you're my 20-second discussion. I'd say, gosh, John, you know what I don't want to see happen to you because I love you, man. I'd say, we've had a buyer that 3-4 weeks ago was writing an offer. We're projecting right now that same exact property could cost $15,000 more. I don't want to see that happen to you. We got to get very strategic about how we're competitive in our bidding to win the bidding process. And that's really hard right now. But I think I can do everything I can to help you win a bid. And you need an agent who knows how to win the bid. Now, sometimes that elevator 20 seconds turns into 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes, right? So I just keep talking until they leave the elevator.
So I call it my elevator speech, but actually I use this on my chairlifts. When I'm prospecting skiing, I use this talk to out of town buyers on the chairlift. So I've got 3 to 5 minutes or longer.
Yeah, I love it. Well, you can start giving some examples, you know? Yeah, I mean, you can start giving some examples, and you remember throw a question in too. You know, I mean, we've got at some point we've got to discover what they want and when they want it. I'm getting a notice that my internet connection is slow. Am I speaking slow?
No.
Okay, Zoom is telling me my internet's slow, and I'm at the office. That's crazy. Someone's streaming Mandalorian somewhere, Joe. Someone in the building's watching all the Mandalorian episodes right now.
It's a Zoom quirk. They like to have all the bandwidth all the time. So if anything ever even diminishes them a tiny bit, they whine, but you're fine.
Yeah. You know, guys, every situation's so different. I think that's why if you start off your morning, you know, with these power hour concepts of I study the market, I study forums, I study what I need, then when you cross paths with people, chairlift, Costco, whatever, you're going to be able to simplify the message. You know, because you're armed with that, you're confident to talk about it, and things kind of rise to the top. But if you don't have examples to point to or stories to tell, you know, like, look, my own daughter, now that should get, you know, my own daughter has written 3 offers at the $420,000 price range and missed every time. Last time we were 12,000 over asking with the appraisal clause, with $1,000 to the seller. We had a guarantee from Bert, the lender, to pay the seller $1,000 for any reason they didn't get the loan. We had a letter from them and a picture. We still lost. You know, it's crazy right now. And I think that you can talk about your own clients. You could talk about, hey, you now have a story. You could say, look, our principal broker's daughter has written 3 offers. It's competitive right now. It's really, really crazy. And it's so important that we understand how to win the bidding process. You know what we can't do and what I can't do? I can't spend my kids' money. I keep telling them that. So Maddie, I can't spend your money, sweetheart. You have to make these decisions. She goes, well, do you think 10,000 over list is enough? I said, honey, I don't know that. You know, we look at, you know what the comps were? The comps were 390. We were at 420. The list price was 410. So, you know, I like the simplification of it, and I like the story, and I like the data, and I like the context over content approach to know the reason behind the data. It's very, very valuable in what we do, right? So, let's see. Janet said, my daughter-in-law picked the offer who was the small family because she had a close neighbor and did not want an investor renter for neighbors. She picked the mid bid, not the highest. Interesting. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of that going on right now. Yesterday, when I was talking to an agent at 8 offers, well, maybe I better not say. I don't want to give away the specifics of it, but there was a connection that our seller had in a commonality with one of the buyers, and you could tell that they were starting to have a preference towards just them, and it had nothing to do with the strength of the offer. It had to do with the human factor. So very, very interesting, and I think those things are important to talk about too. Okay. Okay. All right, let's see. Anybody got one last one or one last question? Okay, Linda. Great. Let's unmute Linda from Moab. Oh, now I think she might be. Are you frozen?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. So my question kind of goes along with the last question. Moab doesn't have much inventory in the entry level range, and I'm working with quite a few buyers right now who keep asking me, should we wait? Do you think the market will go down? What do you think we should do? Do we go over budget right now because we're panicked about spring? And that's such a complicated question because the interest rates are good now. We don't know what spring's going to give us. We don't know what the market's going to be like in the future. And I don't want them to be taken advantage of. So how do you answer that?
Those are all great questions. And you guys, I probably know Linda a little better than most of you here. And what I love about Linda, you can tell instantly she cares. She's caring about the people that are asking her these questions, and she's caring about the answer. And I want to go to my grave as that being the thing that matters most to me. If you lead with heart and compassion, I think everything else will work out. It will. See, if you really love your buyer, you'll study. If you don't care about them, then why would you want to study market data to get these answers right? So, but when you're compassionate and you care, then people then also trust you. And trust is the keystone to every relationship, right? Without trust, what do we have? You know? So first of all, I'm applauding you for caring, Linda. And look, the answers are likely within some of the data, but you can't make the decision for them. Now, I'm going to tell you something that's kind of funny and something to not do, but I hope you remember this. Arnold Stringham would say to me, he goes, you know, Arnold got pretty bold at his old age. He could say anything and he just gets away with it. But he'd say, hey, you know, when people say, well, what would you do if you were me? You know, and that's kind of what they're asking Linda. Well, Linda, if you were in our position, what would you do? Right? So Arnold would do this. He'd go say, well, you know what? If I were you, I'd take out a gun and I'd shoot myself. I'd say, Arnold, you cannot say that. And look, I told you it's funny, but never say that. And yet it kind of always reminds me when I get in these situations where people say, well, Will, what would you do? I can't be the captain of their life. I can be a great scout, but I can't be the captain. You know, that's not what we do. We've got some data that can light our path. I think we should look at that. Linda, I'd say to you, is there entry-level inventory coming online soon? And if there is, do we know the price points yet? You know, if they're not there, then we're going to have to deal with what we have. A lot of people are overpaying, but overpaying is really an issue of sales price versus affordability. And with interest rates lower, we've got affordability is really the question, not necessarily the sale price. So, you know, that's I guess that's kind of how I look at it. You can't make the decision for them. Lay it out there, talk it out, show the data. Only they can make that decision, you know? And the more you keep, look, forget what Arnold said. He's just trying to be funny. But the thing is, we really do care about these people, and they'll learn to trust your guidance, and they'll appreciate that you're not just coming down on a stance. Like if we came out and said, look, every buyer needs to go 20% over list, and that's just how it is. I think we're missing the point. It's their decision. You know, if they miss out on the bidding process, well, you don't want to be to blame for that either. You know, we'll find ourselves in the crosshair. So, but keep doing what you're doing and show them the data, help them answer that question themselves. How about this? Turn it on its head. I often say, well, what happens? How would you feel if you missed this one? How would you feel if you stay where you are? What's causing you to want to move? How important is that? is that worth overpaying, again, qualify that on some of these properties? If we wait till April and there isn't product, how would you feel? What happens if the market's even higher appreciated in April, which it's likely to be? How would you feel, right? Okay. By the way, the question of how you feel is a great question to ask, because it's a summation of all of it, right? When you ask someone how you feel about something, then you're asking them to summarize the intellect, the heart, the mind, everything, right? You'll often hear people say, well, my gut was telling me. But that's not just, I wouldn't minimize that in any sort of a way. That's a summation of the intellect and the mind all working together. So, and yeah, look at the trend, and the trend is you're likely, if you wait, to spend more right now. And that's kind of what we're seeing. So, yeah. Okay. Thanks for the question, Linda. I appreciate that. Guys, we're out of time. I appreciate you spending an hour with me this morning. I thought this was pretty good. This was a good kind of, different questions. Should we do more of the Q&A in the future? Okay. Yeah, good. All right. Fantastic. Well, hey, I do love you all. Happy holidays to everyone. You're my favorite people on planet Earth. You really are. I love cheering you on and seeing your successes. I hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful week, and enjoy your family this time of year. And let me know if I can help you in any sort of a way, and I'd be happy to do it. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop Joe, you can stop.